ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Selfless Little Gaming here. We're going to be breaking down the college football playoffs this weekend. Super excited for that. As y'all can see, repping my Bucks, Ohio State, baby. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to look at the final, pretty much playoff push. Who can actually make some new positioning for themselves in the playoffs of the NFL. Who pretty much is done for, who actually surprisingly still has a chance. Green Bay, from what I understand, has a chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it has just been one of those years in football in general. It's just been kind of crazy. So I am Selfless_Gaming. This is my boy, Little Jacob. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Little Jacob.
Yeah, guys, Little Jacob. It's little with the 3 instead of an E. You can also find me on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And I have a Facebook gaming page as well. So some of the socials that you can find me on.
All right. So first, let's break down the college football playoffs. There's only 4 games that actually matter. All the other bowl games is pretty much just for bragging rights. But starting off on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you have the number 3 seed TCU facing the number 2 seed Michigan. TCU is 12-1. Michigan is 13-0. Michigan is favored by 7.5 points that game. What are your thoughts looking at that first game matchup?
Man, as much as I always want to root for Texas teams, especially for TCU with how well they've played and how great they've been all season. Even in the one loss that they had, it was still a really tough played game for them. And they've never really seemed to show that they didn't deserve to be where they're at right now. And they should definitely be proud of how their season has gone and where they're at. But I just feel like Michigan is just the better team overall. Offensively, defensively, they're really solid and sound. It's what no matter how you look at it, even though yes, there are definitely teams that they played that were clearly more superior than maybe in some of those teams where you could think of as like a warm up game or however you want to look at it. But the fact that they're undefeated, to go 13-0 on a week to week basis and perform the way they have at the level that they have, week after week after week, they're just a special football team that's going to be really hard to beat in general. And I feel like TCU is going to put up a fight. They have a lot. I just don't know that they're going to have enough firepower to hang around with Michigan. I feel like they might be able to for the first quarter or two, but once that second half starts rolling around, guys start getting tired and people start making mistakes and guys start capitalizing on those mistakes. I think that's where you're going to see Michigan really shine in that second half because, and all year, when they've poured it on, whatever they did in the first and the second quarter, they really came and poured it on the third and the fourth. And that's usually where you see their biggest games come in the second half, especially the third quarter is when Michigan really seems to come alive. So as much as I'd really love to see TCU win, and if I'm wrong, that'd be fantastic if they win. But yeah, I don't see TCU being able to get past Michigan because of how good that football team is.
The thing with Michigan, this is where I think they will have the upper hand in this matchup, is TCU is a team that can score a lot of points quickly if you let them, but Michigan is so balanced between the run and the pass. They have a very large time of possession in a lot of their games, and they are really, really good at wearing teams down. And what Michigan is currently now is what Ohio State used to be. We used to run the ball on you, beat you up, play action pass. Then we would spread it out a little bit here and there, a couple series, open the field up, get some big plays to our wide receivers, but always went back to running the football. And in the first half, those games were always very much maybe a score or two here and there of a spread. But then it was that second half you saw where those teams took over and running the football, beating people up front. it just wore down on those teams over time. And Michigan has become very, very good with that over the past 2 years. Their total yards of what they average is about 453 a game. Their yards passing is 210. Their yards rushing is 243. That's about as balanced as you can get running the football and throwing the football. TCU, where they struggled, was in that Kansas State game the second time they played them, and even the first time they played them. That running back from Kansas State ran all over them, and they struggle a lot up against the run. They run a 3-4 style defense, and I just don't see that happening. Like, if they're going to sit in that defense, Michigan may get a little bit going in the first half, but that second half they're just going to wear that team down. I don't want to discredit TCU because I do think TCU is a very talented team. They've obviously gotten here for a reason, but to me, I see this game being played out like the Alabama-Cincinnati game, where Alabama basically just controlled the tempo of the game, kept running the ball, putting pressure on Cincinnati, and eventually just wore those guys down and just took over. That's honestly how I see this game going. If I'm Jim Harbaugh, unless the game calls for you to take risk and try to push some plays down the field, don't. Reserve your guys for the big game if you can get to the national championship. Do what you do best and just stick with your balanced offense. Because they do have some pretty good wide receivers on the outside that can make some explosive plays. But I do think losing Blake Corum, though, for the year for Michigan is a pretty big impact because the backups they have they can't produce what Blake can produce.
Yeah.
So I do think Michigan's going to take care of that game, though. They both average 40 points a game. TCU gives up 25 points a game. Michigan's only allowing 13.4 points a game on their defense. So I think as long as they can keep Miller, the wide receiver for TCU, as long as they can keep him contained, I think Michigan will have that game. Or not Miller, Johnston, I'm sorry. As long as they keep Johnston contained, they'll be able to handle that game. No problem. But yeah, that one is at 4 p.m. on the 31st. It's the first game that kicks off. Michigan is 67% favored in that game. 7.5 point favorite going into it. All right, let's get to the big one. The most important one. I'll say that. I am just going to go out on a limb and say this. Everybody knows that I am a very big Ohio State fan. If you follow the channel, listen to me talk, whatever. I personally think them losing to Michigan has greatly benefited them. And the reason being is because all year long, Ohio State has not played a single game with their full roster. First game of the year, they had wide receivers out. We lose our best player, one of the best wide receivers in the country. We lose him first game of the year. Jackson Smith-Njigba could never come back from his hamstring injury, his knee injury. He tried to a couple times, but it's not worth the risk. We never had him all year. And then as the year continued to go on, it was like a transition of players. It's like basically one game, Travion Henderson is out with a foot. He's sitting out this week. Next game, Mayan Williams is out this week. Next game after that, Harrison's sitting out this week. It's like we never had our full lineup whatsoever. The last 2 games of the year, we had Hayden coming in, basically rushed for like 150 yards against Maryland. And then he had like foot issues and stuff after that game. And then we have some kid that's, I don't even know his name. He transferred in from Iowa State, I believe it was, or Oklahoma State. And he was a backup running back. And he comes in and rushes for like over 100 yards in the first half against Michigan. Hadn't played all year. And I'm just like, dude, like, we're literally all using every reserve we have throughout this whole entire season. And I think them losing hopefully lights a fire under their ass and allows them to actually rest up and get guys healthy because they haven't had to play for a month. Whereas if they would have won, they would have had to play the next week and only had like 2.5 weeks to get ready.
Yeah.
I do know Travion Henderson is out for the game. Jackson Smith and Njigba announced he's not going to play in the playoff games. He's going to sit out the rest of the season. I respect that. He's actually like projected to be a top 6 pick in the NFL draft. We're not even playing this year. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But I just what I personally hope to see is what I think is a major key to the game. Georgia has a very good defensive line. They have a really good defensive tackle on Clark. He can put a lot of pressure. He can disrupt the line of scrimmage a lot. If we can control the line of scrimmage and run the football on Georgia, we have the weapons on the outside and the quarterback to put the ball wherever we need to on the field. But if we start playing this game and we're just going to like throw the ball around, toss it here and there, and not try to control that defensive line, they're going to put a lot of pressure on our offensive line, and we're not going to do well. And we've been relatively balanced past couple of years, but this year we have almost 300 yards passing each game, almost 200 yards rushing. I just think we have to control the line of scrimmage up front. Defensively, I think we can get stops because I've seen games with Georgia where they've played a lot lesser talent and they've struggled on offense. So that gives me like hope that we can hang in there on defense, but I want to see us control the line of scrimmage. And the other thing I want to see, I've never seen this in my life of 35 years of watching Ohio State football. I've never seen a team where their rival, they let their rival plant their flag in the middle of their field and nobody went after anybody. Like, I don't care if I'm in high school, if my rival comes over and they take their flag and they plant it in our field, I'm being suspended for the rest of the season because I'm kicking somebody's ass.
Yeah, that's just like an unwritten rule. You just don't do that. Yeah.
Like the fact that our guys, like, I haven't heard anything in the media of them being pissed off about it, like going after people or anything like that. Like, I better see some fight because the media is not giving Ohio State, honestly, a chance. Like, the game is a 6.5-point favorite for Georgia, but media is honestly already talking about how Georgia's going to be the next dynasty, and they're working their way to that to be the next Bama, and it's like not even Ohio State's not even being considered really for anything. And
yeah,
I want to see, like, I actually said this to my wife's grandfather. I said, I would rather have Urban Meyer's guys and him as a coach than Ryan Day and have all the success of like points put up and games won and all this stuff. I said, I'd rather have Urban's guys who get in trouble that go and kick the shit out of people rather than Ryan's guys who are good kids that as soon as they start getting like beat up a little bit, they fold.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just me. Like, I hate to say it as a fan, I think this game will depend a lot on CJ Stroud. He sometimes can be very confident in the pocket, but I will be honest, I think at the next level, he gets rattled way too easy in the pocket and runs and like scrambles for no reason and forces throws for no reason when he has time to do it. It showed up a lot in the second half of the Michigan game. Like, he just started running and scrambling for no reason when he got like sacked one time. It's like, bro, like you have time, like get out of your head. They're protecting you. Do what you gotta do. But I think if he gets rattled early, you're gonna see that's gonna be the game. Because I don't think he comes back well enough when he gets rattled. Like some people, like Justin Fields, for example, when he got rattled in the Clemson game, you saw this switch go off like, hell no, this isn't happening. And he walked out there on the field and just had this look on him like, I'm going to kick your all's ass. And he did. And he took it to him. Whereas when CJ gets rattled, it's more like, what do I do? Like, what's happening? What's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not that switch where it just clicks and you're just like, all right, like, let's tune this up and let's go. Let's get after these guys. just don't see that from him. So I don't know.
Yeah, especially at the next level, that's going to be a lot more intense. A lot better, faster defenders, and you're not going to have time to be indecisive. And the only thing that's scrambling around is going to get you a lot of the time in the NFL is going to be a sack for a loss or turnover. So, yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from.
Because the time he has now to throw the football in his college career, that's going to be cut in half in the NFL.
Yeah,
like
we've talked about it
defenses
for sure.
quick. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts about this game, though? Because to me, this is definitely the game to watch. It's going to be at 8 p.m. On Saturday night. So, but like, what's your breakdown for this game? What do you think are some key takes?
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. You said a big part of it. Making sure that they control the defensive line, at the point of attack, and giving the offense time to get working and operate. I think if you guys also get at least a decent run game going, kind of balance things out. And then as soon as they start sending blitzes and sending guys out to the quarterback, maybe try to hit him with some short passes, some quick passes to minimize the blitz, because it's definitely going to be helpful down the road of that game over the 4 quarters. And you guys, like you said, y'all do have weapons on the outside that'll help you score a lot of points and get first downs and move the ball. I think it's going to be crucial that they do try to impose some kind of run game to help with that for sure, because I'm more than confident that they know what's coming in the passing game. I think that's where the running game has to step up and say, let's go out there and let's show them what we're all about, and get the football moving on the ground, and to throw them off on what they're preparing for. Because you know what, sometimes when you're in a situation like this where everyone's talking about how Georgia's going to be the next dynasty and all that stuff, and they're not really considering you as a team, that's really gives you an opportunity to get in there and hit someone in the mouth and say, hey, like, we're going to come out here, we're going to play hard, and we're not going to just lay down because this is Georgia or because whoever that we're playing, right? So I think that if those guys took this time to get focused, get prepared, and really look in the mirror and tell themselves how bad that they want to win this game. And if they want it bad enough, they can definitely go out there and do it. Granted, it's going to be a tough game. I mean, Georgia's going to be hard to beat in all phases, but if there's a team that can do it, Ohio State definitely has the ability to do it. I think the crucial is quarter. If they handle business in the first and the second, and if it's a close game at the half, I think the crucial quarter probably end up being the third. It'll be really telling how the rest of that game is going to go. Because third quarters, especially in college football, seem to, I won't say necessarily make or break a game, but they can be a good indication of how the next one's going to go and how it's going to finish out.
Yeah.
But I think if they stick to what they do best, what they know, they try to keep the run game moving to help out that passing game, and control the defensive line. Like you were saying, I think they have a really good shot at winning this Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. That's what it is, right? The Peach Bowl.
Yeah, it's Peach Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Peach Bowl.
Yeah. Actually, it is a Peach Bowl. There you go.
And
Bowl.
This is pretty much like a home game for Georgia. Like, it's down there in Atlanta, so it's pretty much a home game for them. But Ohio State, like, fans always show up, so it'll definitely, I feel like it'll be a balanced, because especially games like that, they try to make the ticket sales half and half if they can and stuff. But one thing I did want to like kind of cover is just a little bit of a breakdown for the game. Points per game, Ohio State is 44.5, Georgia's 39.2. Points allowed per game is 19.3 by Ohio State. That's how much their defense gives up. Georgia's 12.8, so almost 13 points. And then total yards offensively is 492, and Georgia's 491. It's honestly kind of a similar breakdown. Like, yards passing, Ohio State is 294, Georgia's 284. Yards rushing, Ohio State is 198, Georgia's 207. The key here is yards allowed is 303 by Ohio State, and Georgia's 292. The rush yards, though, and this is why I think it's a key thing here, Georgia is only averaging giving up 77 rush yards a game. that's where I think if we can assert ourselves and we can run the football on them,
Yeah.
we'll have a chance. Like we'll have the ability to play our game and run our offense.
Yeah, and then especially because like when you start getting like those corners or those safeties to creep up into the box because it might be a run, you can start running play action. You can find a way to throw it over the top to some of those flashy, speedy receivers that you guys have,
Yeah.
make some big plays and score some touchdowns. So yeah, I mean the run game is going to be crucial, and that's generally how it is, right? When you play a good football team, you need to get both the passing and the running game going because they complement each other so well, and they help relieve pressure on the other. So yeah, definitely. I would say that if anything, hopefully the Ohio State running backs realize that this is a game that needs to be their best game running the football. Honestly,
Well,
if
and
you think about it.
to kind of put in perspective here, so CJ Stroud has thrown for 3,300 or 3,340 yards. He's got a completion percentage of 67%. He has 37 touchdowns on the year, 6 interceptions. He's been sacked 8 times. Okay. Our running backs, all right. Mayan Williams has 817 yards rushing. Travion Henderson, who's not playing, is 571. Dallin Hayden, that's the guy that pretty much played the Maryland game for us and carried us in that Maryland game. He has 510 yards rushing. And then receiving wise, you have Marvin Harrison Jr. that has 1,157 yards receiving, 12 touchdowns. Nice. Emiko Ibuka has 1,040 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns. Julian Fleming, who's like our third best option, has 462 yards with 6 touchdowns. Cade Stover, our tight end's got 400 yards receiving, 5 touchdowns. We have like a lot of weapons as far as offensively goes, but the biggest thing is we got 2,000-yard receivers. We don't have a 1,000-yard rusher. When I think this is like the first season that we've not had a 1,000-yard rusher. Because I'm pretty sure last year Travion Henderson had like 1,200 yards rushing or something crazy. Looking at Georgia's breakdown, Stinson Bennett has 3,400 yards receiving or passing. I'm sorry. He's played essentially 2 extra games. And then he's got 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, been sacked 7 times on the year. Rushing, Kenny McIntosh has 709 yards rushing. Dewan Edwards has 681. Kendall Milton has 533. And then wide receiver wise, Brock Bowers. This kid is very talented. I'm actually very surprised to see his stats here. He's a tight end. He's basically like a Gronk. The best way to like sum him up. Brock Bowers is their leading wide receiver with 726 yards. He's got 6 touchdowns. Ladd McKinney, 675. Kenny McIntosh, which is their running back, is 449. Honestly, pretty balanced. The only real outstanding statistic between the 2 teams is our wide receivers are a lot better, but I really just think it's like defensively overall. I think this is going to be determined by the defenses in this game.
Yeah, and as good as their defense is in Georgia, and it's a really good defense, I just feel like they're not going to be able to always account for all the guys that you have out there at wideout. I feel like there's always going to be an opportunity. There's enough time with the right play calling and then the right looks. Somebody will get open. Somebody's going to be open and available to catch the ball for sure. Because they have a lot to account for in speed and skill in that position there that y'all have. Every receiver, because those guys are making. There's a lot of big playmakers on that team. I mean, whether it's the tight end or the receivers, you definitely got guys that can make a big play when they get the football in their hands, which is a big reason why we're talking about the run game, because they'll have opportunities to get the ball in their hands when they get some pressure off of the quarterback and let them make time to make those passes and those catches.
I do think this is definitely something where because a lot of people are like, well, you look at some of the wide receivers and running backs in the SEC, like there's a lot of talent down there too, which I
Hmm.
agree with. There's tons of talent in the SEC. Georgia's not faced a quarterback though like CJ Stroud, and I do think that could give us an advantage in the passing game, or like our offensive versus their offense. Um, because dude, he's pretty accurate with the ball. Like it's pretty impressive to see some of the throws he's made,
Yeah.
but it just really just depends on how is he gonna be here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
is he gonna be
mentally, yeah.
melee? Um, what is your predictions for the game? Like Michigan versus TCU. What do you think is your final prediction for that game? What's the score?
Man, if I have to be honest, as much like I said, as much as I like to support TCU and any Texas team, especially when they get to this stage, I still feel like you know, Michigan is the more superior team. So I feel like it might be close at first, but they'll probably end up pulling away. It'll probably end up being something like 24-13, maybe 27-13. I don't feel like, especially the way the first half I think is going to go, that they're going to be able to do a whole lot because you know I don't want to say TCU is one dimensional, but it seems at times they can be. And I feel like Michigan is going to exploit them. Harbaugh is probably going to take advantage of um them being one dimensional at times, and that's going to keep them from really scoring points like we're used to seeing. So yeah, I kind of feel like it's going to be a 10 or more point victory by Michigan.
I think TCU's quarterback is going to be a very big part of their game. Like if he can actually play a good game, they'll be
Hmm.
all right. I see the final score being 35-21 Michigan. I think they're going to just kind of get up on them in the second half and then basically just control the tempo of the game, wear them out, like we talked about.
Yeah,
What do you think for Georgia Ohio State?
I feel like the beginning of that game, at least the first half, will probably be high scoring. I feel like it might start slowing down because of the defense adjusting in the second half. But I definitely feel like it's going to be, in my opinion, I hope I'm right, it's going to be a close game. I think that if there's going to be a winner, it probably won't be by probably, but not by more than seven. It's probably I think it's going to be with at least within 7 points for either team. Um, but I do see you guys at least putting up at least four or five touchdowns that game for sure. Um, if everything goes right and the offensive game plan works the way it's supposed to, I can definitely see Ohio scoring a lot of points and forcing Georgia to answer those scores. So I see it as being a high scoring game at the end.
I Man, I don't know. I could see this game being like really tight
Hmm.
and low scoring, or I see it being like a 49-42 matchup, something like crazy like
Mm.
that. Like it's just nonstop scoring. Um, I'm gonna go with because I know we're gonna have all of our guys healthy. I'm gonna go 42-38 Ohio State. I'm going with my team. I will say this when it comes to Ohio State, they need to win this game to make
Hmm.
a redemption for themselves, not only for CJ Stroud and like what he's done. Because I'm not gonna lie, like it sucks that the kid has had such a tremendous career at Ohio State, but like that doesn't matter when you lose to your rival and you're not winning your conference championship.
Yeah.
Like that stuff doesn't matter. And the kid has had a tremendous, just ridiculously tremendous career at Ohio State. But Ryan Day has been having a lot of people bark at him and putting a lot of pressure on him to get better results because I agree with these people too, the boosters and everybody else. The way Ohio State is trending is very much like we are now the new Michigan. Like we can go and win all these games, but we can't win the one that matters. We're not competing for our conference title anymore. And honestly, if Alabama hadn't lost 2 games, we wouldn't be in it this year. Like we were very fortunate they lost 2 games. So he needs to win this. He needs to put the university back on the map where it was. and show like the world that yeah, Ohio State just had a slip up. We're very much ones to be contenders this year. Plus, there's been like a little Twitter group going on with Georgia fans coming at me, and I'd love to roast them, toast them, package them, and post them, baby. Not even gonna lie, I'd love to roast their asses. But yeah, 42-38. That's what I'm going with.
42-38.
Yep.
As a fan, I mean, so like I have to think about it too. As a fan, it's like I don't mind high scoring games, but at the same time, it's like man, yeah, you don't, yeah, it's stressful, and you also don't want you also don't like watching your defense get Swiss cheesed either, because it's just like come on, at some point. But
for me,
it is exciting. It is exciting at the same time.
For me though, and I feel like this is a lot easier in college. I feel like I can sit there and watch a game, and our teams could be going back and forth, like scoring.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I can see in college a lot easier. Like we have this game. Like this team's has had some good breaks for them. They've been able to like pick apart stuff, but we can easily adjust this and correct it. Whereas like the other team, it's obvious they're running whatever they want and they're just getting yards after yards after yards. Like
yeah.
They're clearly the better team. So it's like, to me, that stuff doesn't stress me out as much because I can sit there and be like, okay, like we have a wrap on this game. Like we have our hands on this game. As long as we just don't shit the bed and start turning the ball over and stuff like that, we're fine. Like I can kind of see the trend of the game going a lot easier than that in the NFL. Because in the NFL, I mean, dude, how many games have we had this year where teams have been up by a lot? Then all of a sudden it's like one quarter goes by and it's a 3-point game now. It's like, what the hell is happening? So I don't know. I will know by halftime if we have a chance or not in that game. So
yeah, and I think that's one thing. Like if wherever as a football fan, when you really start watching games and you really start watching football, one thing that you start to come to realize is that the first half usually can tell you a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The third quarter will tell you even more.
Yep.
About who's winning, who's losing, and what's going to be happening next. But that has been the crazy part about the NFL this year is that you get this perception of, okay, well, this is how the first half went. Then all of a sudden here comes the third quarter and no one, like everyone, the team that was kicking ass is getting their ass kicked for a whole quarter.
Yep.
And they're not doing anything. And then it's the fourth quarter now, and it just seems like it's just crazy how everything has been flip-flopping all year. But that's how quickly the tide can turn in football. I mean, we've even had games where there's 3 awful quarters by one team, and then for God knows what reason, the whole energy changes, and that team gets their ass kicked for the whole fourth quarter, and then this other team comes back and pulls it out in the end by 3 points or whatever, and it's been pretty crazy.
The NFL has been wild this year. I have not remembered a season where, because like, I don't know, I feel like the past few years in the NFL, it's pretty much been like 3 or 4 teams have already secured their spot. Pretty much the first couple of rounds are already decided, and you got like 2 to 3 teams that are kind of like fighting for a position to get into the wild card like race, But dude, we got so many teams this year in the NFL that it's still a tight race right now. Like
for the playoffs,
breaking down the AFC, we got Buffalo Bills at 12-3. Kansas City is 12-3. Cincinnati Bengals, which Joe Burrow better win the freaking MVP this year, dude. Because if it's not for Joe Burrow, the Bengals don't have a team. That guy has been balling the past like 8 games. They're 11-4. Then you got Jacksonville at 7-8. Baltimore's 10-5. The Chargers are now 9-6. Miami is 8-7. New England 7-8. New York Jets 7-8. Titans 7-8. Steelers 7-8. Raiders 6-9. All those teams right there literally have a chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, it's freaking crazy. How many games do we have left of the season? We got, what, 2 weeks left of the season?
Yeah, there's 2 weeks left. Yeah, there's 2 weeks left. That's right.
There's so much that could happen in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, there's literally from, honestly, the Jags right now. Like, so this is the playoff projection for the AFC, okay? Right now, the Bills are 1. They have clinched their division. So they're the number 1 seed at 12-3.
Mhm.
The Chiefs have clinched their division at 12-3. They're the 2 seed. The Bengals are currently the 3 seed. They've clinched a playoff berth. Jacksonville is currently the 4 seed. Baltimore is the 5th seed, clinching a playoff berth. Which, see, this is what doesn't make sense to me is Jacksonville's 7-8 and Baltimore's 10-5. And like they're a lower seed than Jacksonville. But it's because Jacksonville's pretty much they're winning their division right now.
Yeah, which their division is terrible.
Their division's trash. And then the Los Angeles Chargers, they've clinched the wild card spot. So they can't lose that. And then pretty much Miami, pretty much Jacksonville, Miami, New England, the Jets, the Titans, the Steelers, the Raiders, which is crazy to even talk about, like the Steelers and the Raiders having a chance to win. They're literally like these next 2 weeks determine if they're in the playoffs or not.
Yeah.
It's that close of a race. To break it down, Jacksonville Jaguars wins tiebreaker over Tennessee based on head-to-head win percentage. For the New England Patriots, wins tiebreaker over Tennessee and Pittsburgh based on best win percentage in conference games. Division tie break was initially used to eliminate New York Jets. New England wins tiebreaker over New York Jets based on head-to-head win percentage. What the hell does all that even mean?
I don't know, man.
The Jets wins tiebreaker over Tennessee based on best win percentage in common games. Wins tiebreaker over Pittsburgh based on best win percentage in conference games. Tennessee Titans wins tiebreaker over Pittsburgh based off win percentage in conference games. And then the Las Vegas Raiders wins tiebreaker over Cleveland based off win percentage in conference games. Like, all that stuff I just read and talked about, that's pretty much how they're having to determine if these teams win, this team still advances because of their conference games and their win percentage. And it seems like everybody's got an advantage over Tennessee right now.
Yeah, man. I don't know what's up with them.
I think Tennessee's done, personally. Like, Ryan Tannehill's done for the year. I honestly felt like he was the only reason that team was kind of staying afloat. Now teams are obviously just going to like key on stopping Derrick Henry. I don't think they're really going to be a threat. So I think they're going to sort themselves out of the playoffs. I kind of honestly see. I kind of see the playoffs being the way they are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Who do the Dolphins have left? The Dolphins have kind of fallen off, honestly.
Yeah, and on that too, like I think another thing that's concerning the Dolphins is like Tua's health. Like, you know, the poor guy just keeps. It's kind of crazy because I feel like, I mean, as a football player, and it's obviously why you wear a helmet, you do get your head banged around a lot, but I just feel like Tua has been like smacking his head against the ground, and unfortunately for him, more often than I've seen any player this year, or in a while. And you know, the dude just keeps going back and back to these concussion protocols, and it's like, dude, at what point though is it like concerning for his health, and then eventually mental health, to be constantly like taking a jarring to his head like that, you know?
Because that's actually been brought into some questions of like some of the analysts and stuff looking at his performance. Some people are actually starting to question now, like, should the Dolphins actually pull the trigger on him and sign him to a long-term deal because of what they're seeing now? You know, and sometimes, man, when you get hit in the head like that, like he had earlier in the season, you may feel better, but then it's like one jar, just the right spot and stuff to the head.
You're back to that same spot again.
Back, yeah. So
yeah,
they have the Dolphins currently have the Patriots and the Jets left on the year. So they play the Patriots on the 1st, and then the Jets is to be determined. So we have 2 divisional games left. They pretty much got to beat them to stay in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because right now I believe they are the 7th seed. Yeah, they're the 7th seed. So
one of the things that I've been reading about and that I'm kind of keeping an eye out for is because Dallas plays Tennessee Thursday, and one of the things they're talking about is whether or not they're actually going to have Derrick Henry activated and instead hold him off for the last game, which I think is against the Jaguars, because they need the divisional.
They need the divisional
They need a
win.
divisional win. So that's going to be another interesting thing to see. To see if they decide to start him. I mean, honestly, the Titans are in a position right now where they need to win every single game that they can. But even if they did, I don't know how work around. Because like you said, they've kind of fallen off pretty hard. Their offensive production isn't as good as it used to be. They have that rookie at quarterback starting, and I mean, I'm sure he'll do good, but I don't know that he's ready at that level to get him
Well,
over the hump like that in the playoffs.
so that's the AFC breakdown. Okay, let's look at the NFC now.
Hmm.
It's a very similar picture.
Yeah,
Philadelphia is 13-2. They clinched a playoff berth. Still have the best record in the NFL. 12-3 is Minnesota at number 2. 11-4 is San Francisco 49ers, which, man, I'm not going to lie, they are a dangerous team right now.
they've won like 8 in a row, I think, right? Like 8
Yeah,
games in
dude,
a row
like
or something crazy, like two
they are
straight months.
dangerous, and they don't have Debo Samuel right now, and they've just been clicking on all cylinders. They're 11-4. Both the Vikings and the Niners have clinched their division. Tampa Bay is 7-8, which it's crazy to me that they're still like even being
In the playoffs. Yeah,
in the playoffs. Their offense is so bad. Like they're just so bad. They're 7-8, sitting at number 4 seed. Dallas has clinched a playoff berth as well. They are 11-4. And then the Giants are 6th at 8-6. And then Washington rounds out 7th at 7-7. So
yeah.
the whole entire NFC East is in the playoffs, which is
That's just today, yeah.
crazy. But then here's the rest of the breakdown. Seattle 7-8, Detroit 7-8, Green Bay 7-8, Carolina 6-9, New Orleans Saints 6-9. They like the fact that Carolina and New Orleans still have a chance
Somehow,
to make
yeah,
the playoffs
mathematically.
is just insane. And then with how bad Green Bay has been, they're literally just one win away, which I'm pretty sure they got to play the Lions. Yeah, they play the Vikings and they play the Lions last game of the year.
Yeah.
So they got to win those 2 games.
Yeah, they need those games
to get into the playoffs. But here's like the tiebreaker breakdowns. It's not as bad as the AFC. So Seattle is currently outside looking in. They won the tiebreaker over Detroit based off head-to-head win percentage. Division tiebreaker was initially used to eliminate Green Bay. Detroit wins that tiebreak over Green Bay based on head-to-head win percentage. So pretty much because they beat Green Bay earlier in the year, they have that advantage right now of head-to-head win. For the Detroit Lions, wins tiebreaker over Green Bay based off head-to-head. Carolina wins tiebreaker over New Orleans based off head-to-head. And then that's pretty much it. So a lot of these right now, the way they sit, the reason they're positioned the way they are, like the reason Carolina's in front of the Saints is because they beat them head-to-head. The reason Detroit is in front of Green Bay is they beat them head-to-head. But it's just crazy. Like, here's a big question though, okay? Do you, as a New York Giant, Dallas Cowboy, and Washington Commanders, like coaching staff, you got the Cowboys have the Titans and the Commanders left on the year. The Giants have the Colts and the Eagles. And then the Commanders have the Browns and the Cowboys. Okay. Do you, over those like teams, do you sit your players for a game against non-conference opponents and play them for conference opponents, like you talked about the Titans might do? Or do you play them this next week against your non-conference, try to ensure that you get the win, and then last game of the season, you're done? Because the Cowboys have clinched a spot. They're in.
Yeah.
Like, they're in the playoffs. The Giants and the Commanders, though, they're literally pretty much a game back or half a game back compared to everybody else below them. Like the Panthers and the Saints have to win out the rest of the year, and they have to hope everybody all the way up on top of them to Dallas loses the rest of their games. Yeah. But everybody else that's in the middle, they can go 1-1, and just kind of depends on who won and who lost. So what do you think those teams do? You know, you worry about your divisional games, or do you worry about all the games, or do you sit one, play one?
I think that you probably, of course, you want to put your guys in the best position to make the playoffs. So I think that whatever game it is that can help you clinch a playoff berth, that's the game that you should really focus on. And if it's possible, like for example, if it's a divisional victory that's going to get you into the playoffs, then I would be all for sitting some guys for the non-conference matchup, non-divisional matchup, and making sure that they're ready and available to go for a game that could potentially lock you into the playoffs. Because you do have to start thinking ahead a little bit more now. There's not really any games left, and it's either you're in the playoffs or your season's over. You're going to go home regardless, right? So that's just my thought process, that you want to focus on the game that's going to get you the playoff berth. And for some teams, it's going to be both those games. But if you can sit your guys for one of those games and get them some rest and protect them from any kind of injury, I do it. I would do it, because if you can get into the playoffs and have your guys available, your guys healthy, I think that's more important than going 2-0 in this situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think for the Giants and the Commanders, you have to play this week because you really have no room for error to maintain in the playoffs. So I think you have to play them this week, and then based off the outcome of what happens, that determines on what steps you take next week in the final week of the season. Because if New York wins, that would put them at 9-6. And then let's say like Seattle loses, that's 7-10 or 7-9. Detroit loses to Green Bay, that's 7-9. You know, that, like, I don't know, man, it's tough. Because it's just like, it's crazy.
Yeah, what really hurts the Giants too is that they have that tie with Washington, so that kind of throws them for a loop too. Because if the Giants drop one of these two games,
which they should beat the Colts. The Colts are,
they should be able to beat the Colts. I mean, I would hope so, but you never know. Some crazy things have happened. And then of course Washington, they do have to play us again, which that game might not even matter. That might end up being a game where Dallas says, you know what, we'll play Dak and the starters for like a quarter or two, and that's it. Like, we're gonna pull them out, which was probably gonna end up happening. But yeah, they do have to be careful because of that one draw. All it's gonna take for them is to slip up one of these games, and one of those other two teams below them, like let's say, I don't know, maybe the Bucks or maybe the Seahawks or the Lions, they just win 2 in a row. Packers win 2 in a row. One of those teams wins 2 in a row, and you got these two teams that have a tie. They drop one game, and because of that tie, that could be the reason that they don't make it in. You know. So
what if the Packers get in the playoffs and Aaron Rodgers actually wins the Super Bowl this year with how bad they are?
I don't know. I'd probably quit watching the NFL because it's broken. I feel like it's broken, and there's no freaking way. That would be insane.
But the reason I brought that up is because that's literally the kind of year it's been. Like, the fact that they've been so bad, and he has played historically bad, and they still have a chance in the playoffs.
And that would probably be like the definition of irony, because so many seasons in his career where he has like the greatest regular seasons ever. He's MVP. Aaron Rodgers is just having these historically great seasons, statistically great, leading all categories, etc. Can never get there, and then to play like just so bad, a team is so bad all year, and then for them to get that would be crazy.
I I don't mean to switch gears here, but I do want to talk about something. And I'll first start off by saying this, okay? The Pro Bowl doesn't mean shit to me. Like, I don't care about the Pro Bowl. I don't care who's playing what in the Pro Bowl. Like, whatever, okay? I do think it is a nice, nice accolade to have on your career that you made the Pro Bowl so many times, because it's going to help you in the Hall of Fame and all that stuff as far as votes and getting inducted. But this is what I don't understand. Okay. Davis Mills, quarterback for the Houston Texans, who are currently 2-12-1, is in the Pro Bowl this year.
Is he really?
He has 14 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Okay. He has a QBR of 33.2. Justin Fields did not get put in the Pro Bowl this year. And it just blows my mind seeing that this guy got put in there when Justin Fields was a candidate for the Pro Bowl. And he basically got axed for the Pro Bowl. But seeing like what this guy's done and seeing where Justin Fields is at from start of the season to now, like, it honestly just blew my mind when I saw that. And to me, it's just kind of like, where are we at with the Pro Bowl? Are we at a point where so many guys are like, dude, I don't care. No, like, our team has a chance to play in the playoffs. I'm not playing in this stupid game. That we're just like picking and drawing people now and like just asking, like, hey, do you want to come play in the Pro Bowl? Like, do you want to be a part of it this year? Because seeing some of the people that have been like put into it, it's just really like blown my mind where they're at with things now and how they're deciding stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused. Like, I always used to think that the Pro Bowl was like something that mostly the fans dictated and voted for on who's going to go. And I'm pretty sure not that many people have voted for the Texans quarterback. There's just no freaking way. I don't even think there's a lot of Texans fans that would want to vote for him. Like, for what? Like, it's crazy.
To put it in perspective, okay, Justin Fields right now, and I'm just using him like as an example because ever since the middle of the season when he like they started using him the way they needed to, the guy has erupted as far as like statistics go. Their team obviously still isn't winning a lot, but like what he's been doing as far as a performance goes, it's been insane. He has 2,100 yards passing, not a crazy number, you know, in the NFL, but he's got over 1,000 yards rushing this year. He's got 8 touchdowns rushing, 16 touchdowns throwing, 10 interceptions. Like, what if it wasn't for Justin Fields this year, the Bears would not have scored maybe 10 points a game. And it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of like crazy, like seeing what some of the stuff is now going on in like the Pro Bowl and these selections and all this stuff. That's why I said earlier in the podcast, like, Joe Burrow better win the MVP this year because that dude is just on fire. Like, he's playing out of his mind. And fantasy wise, if Patrick Mahomes isn't available, I'm grabbing my boy Joe. I'm picking him up because he has shown me a lot this year, especially with how bad they were at the beginning of the year. He's got 4,200 yards passing. Dude's got 34 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Been sacked 42 times. That's insane. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about. All right. How do you feel about last week's game between Dallas and the Eagles? Because we got to talk about the Cowboys.
I feel like it was a really crazy game. I mean,
Definitely agree with that.
I don't know. I feel like just watching the game. I feel like it's pretty wild to me that since Dak has come back, there's at least 4 or 5 games where he put up 40 points or more,
Mm-hmm.
which is insane. I'm pretty surprised that happened against, not that we beat, but that we were able to put up that many points against. I mean, what's supposed to be like the best defense in the league. So that was pretty impressive. Um, I feel like also too, like with our defense, man, dude, I feel like we're really hurting on that side opposite to Trayvon, on that side of the field when we lost our starting corner, Anthony Brown. And don't get me wrong, Brown will get burned every now and then, and it's just like, I got this look on my face like, yep, of course it's Brown. It's you that's getting burned. But then comes this Jaguar game, and all of a sudden I'm being reminded of why he starts and how much we miss him
Yeah.
because the rookie or the guy that we put there got toasted for like the whole game for like 3 touchdowns, and then it kind of started happening in this Eagles game again. We are definitely feeling the injuries in the secondary, and I'm hoping that we can find some kind of middle ground or just get some better play out of it, for sure, because we're going to need it moving forward, especially in the playoff time. And unfortunately, with the injuries, guys are just going to have to play better because the guys that we do have normally are just hurt and like they just can't be there. It's not going to happen.
Do you think if Jalen plays in that game this past weekend, do you think you all win?
I don't think it would be much different. I don't think
Okay.
it would be much different, honestly. Because at the end of the day, I feel like, and this is not to take away from Jalen Hurts because I know he's played very well all year. Um, and I think I gather this also because of what I saw from Gardner Minshew. I think it's the system that they run there, with the offense that they run, the style of offense, and then the plays run, everything that really helps them be
Yeah.
successful and do what they do. And I know that to be the case because, like I mentioned, the same way they were able to run the ball and do everything that they did in that first game against Dallas, when the defense was healthier, they were able to do it again, but without Jalen Hurts. Um, so I don't feel like their Jalen Hurts much would be different because the turnover still happened. We still had to make some big plays down the stretch. Uh, I don't know. I just feel like it's just another game where things don't go our way, like from the very beginning, the very first drive, and then after that, our offense just explodes. Um, there was a crazy third and 30
Yeah, that was
situation where I
wild.
feel like the game was over. I mean, I was already pretty pissed about everything. I was like, man, I was mad about the penalty. Like, dude, this is 3rd and 30 now. We're gonna lose this freaking game because we're gonna give the Eagles ball back. They have the lead, and then Dak just throws up this bomb to T.Y. Hilton, which I didn't even. I was so mad at the time. I was so mad at the time, and I've been drinking and everything. I didn't even realize that was T.Y. Hilton.
I
He
didn't either.
catches the ball on a crazy 3rd and 30, and that was against like their best corner, and that's Devarius Slay. It was just a wild game, man. There was like one play where Dak should have been sacked, and I don't know how somebody was grabbing on his jersey and swinging him, and somehow he stays on his feet and completes like another crucial 3rd down. And that whole last drive to win it was crazy. That's like a second game where they drive the ball in a crucial end game situation and make it happen. I feel like if they can continue to play with the heart that they have, like they played against the Eagles, this is going to be a football team that can get past the first round, and maybe even to the NFC Championship game if they can continue to play at that level productively offensively. If they can minimize some of their mistakes, and if we can pick it up a bit on defense on the passing side of the football, I think we'll be just fine. But it was
Yeah,
definitely a very telling game to be sure, and not just for the Cowboys, but for the Eagles too.
I just I know y'all have had some injuries and stuff, but man, I was watching that game, and it definitely showed me two things.
Mm-hmm.
One, that Jalen Hurts does not make the Eagles. The Eagles personnel has made Jalen Hurts this year.
Yeah.
Like his performance that he's had is
Yeah.
due to who they have surrounded him, which I don't like quote a bunch of stuff by Urban Meyer, but Urban Meyer had said one thing that had stood true. And it was back in 2014 when we had our quarterback. Oh my God, just freaking JT Barrett, when he went down, broke his leg. And then we had to put in our backup, Cardale Jones, that had never played, went in and won the conference championship and all that stuff. And before the game, they're like, how do you get somebody like Cardale Jones, who hasn't played all year, ready for a big game like this? And Urban said, a quarterback is the product of what is around him. Like, we have superior athletes around him. We have great personnel around him. So that's the quarterback. Like, the quarterback is made up of the personnel around them. And I've always kind of seen it, like, you look at really, really good quarterbacks, whether in college or in the pros, and then you look at who they got on their team, that helps that level of play, you know? Like Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, those are special guys. Josh Allen, those are special guys. Aaron Rodgers, he's a special guy. But you look at the rosters that they have around them and people they put with them, that elevates their level of play so much more, you know? Whereas Jalen, you look at the past few years for him, they've started putting pieces around him. His performance has gone better and better. But when Gardner Minshew went in there and he played this past week, and I want to say he put up 355 yards or something.
Yeah.
Like, to me, all that said to me was like, this is a system. It's literally the players they have. It's a system they have. Yeah, he went 24 of 40, 355, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It's just like, this is literally just a system they have. They got the right players for this team.
Yeah.
They're kind of doing a Rams, like, we went all out this year to win it this year type deal, both offensively and defensively. I personally think, like, your guys' defense got to get healthy. You got to get guys back. Where y'all are in the playoffs already, I think you sit people. Like, guaranteed last week of the season, you sit them, get them healthy. One thing I did like that I did see is when Dak threw that pick early, okay? It's kind of like there's always that moment for him where it's like, where do we come back now? Like, is this going to be a game where he's loose with the football, he turned it over, he's going to be like overthrowing, underthrowing people, he's not going to be on target? Or is he going to bounce back? And that next series, he came right out and was like, boom, 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 right down the field, scored. And to me, that shows that the confidence and, like, the Cowboys offense right now is very high. I was about to text you when they came out, and I think they just, like, what fucking was it? It was, I think y'all got a turnover. And you guys got a pick. And it was like right there at the 50. Like, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh man, like, they might open this up right now. And then you guys did that whole stupid, like, reverse handoff throw pass thing.
I'm
like, what are you doing?
I was so livid. Like, I was texting my root buddies work, and I was like, bro, this is why sometimes I want to punch Kellen Moore in the freaking face, man. I will go to jail today to punch him in the face and make a statement. Because it's just, I don't understand. And I was shouting because I was so angry. I was like, I don't understand. Why? I'm just like, why? Why are we doing this? I feel like we're playing high school football at a freaking spring ball game, you know, and we're just, you know, just jerking around with the pals in the backyard. Why are we running a reverse pitch pass bullcrap?
Dude, I literally, like,
situation in the game. I don't know, man.
If they would have done, like, if he would have called something like the Statue of Liberty play, like, hand it off to Zeke takes a step, flips it back to Zach, and Dak bombs it down to CeeDee Lamb or something. Sure. Or put T.Y. Hilton in for that play. Let the guy just go deep, you know, whatever. Yeah. I'm like, okay, you took a shot, get back to your offense. But the fact that it was like a huge swing in the game, And
Yeah.
it's like at those moments is when you don't do that stuff. Like you just have a huge swing in the game. Your defense just got a huge pick for you. You're already like pretty much on their side of the field almost. Stick to what your offense has been doing. Your offense is clicking, and then you come out and you call something like that. And that's what I've talked about with him, dude, is like when he calls things, like it completely disrupts a whole series. Because that series was a missed opportunity. You guys ended up punting.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yep.
bro, what are you doing? Like, what in what mind does he sit here and say, all right, guys, we're running the annexation of Puerto Rico play. This play, here it is. And everybody in the booth is like, great call. Get it, Khaled. Great call. Like, what are you doing, dude? And that to me, I think with like some of the players you guys have,
Yeah.
when you guys are on it, like when you guys are on tempo, you guys are like moving the ball down the field, your offense gets ignited by that stuff. And then when you have something like that, like I feel like I can look at some of the guys that you have on the field, and even at an NFL level, they're just like, dude, I'm over this series. Like, that was stupid. Get me out of here.
It's deflating. Yeah, it's
You get
deflating.
what I'm saying? Like,
And somebody else like McCarthy too. It makes me mad because I'm like, dude, you're the head coach. You should be able to shut shit down when some dumb crap comes across like that. Like, yeah, let's run a freaking jet sweep reverse pitch pass. No, man, tell him no. Run something else. I don't care. Tell Dak to audible out of it. I don't know, man. That was one of those things where I'm like, dude, please don't do this shit in the playoffs because I feel like I'm gonna break my monitor if I see you do some dumb crap like this in a playoff game. Like, I don't know, man. That was just one of those moments that makes me feel like, you know what? I'm totally fine with parting ways with Kellen Moore.
let
He
me
can go.
let me ask you this question, okay? When has that stuff, like when has those plays ever worked for you all? I don't know a single play like that worked for you all. The only one that I could say that semi worked for you guys was when he called that quarterback draw, but it was obvious like that one scenario where it's like people didn't realize the game situation. Like, yeah, you went up, you run up, you got to get up there quick and run up with them and spike it real quick. Like, you just ran out of time. Like, because I even told you in that one, I was like, dude, I understand where he was going with that one. You know, like everybody's selling out up front to try to get pressure, but then everybody's dropping back in coverage to ensure nothing gets going long. You're going to have a huge gap in coverage. Take that, get what you can, move up, try to kick a field goal, whatever. It just didn't work out. But like some of the shit, man, they call, it's just like, bro, what are you doing? Like, what is going through your head right now?
Yeah, I don't think there's too many times where I've seen him play that successful. I mean, maybe every now and then you have like a jet sweep to CeeDee Lamb that got some yards, or like.
See, but that's like a normal play to me. That's just
that's
trying to extend something outside the box.
Trying to run like these backyard circus plays. I get it. We have phenomenal athletes on the offense. We have great athletes with guys like CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, T.Y. Hilton. You got Noah Brown. You got some really good players out there. But I mean, come on, dude. Like, I don't know. Some of that stuff is just honestly, it's kind of embarrassing because I mean, people are scratching their head and wondering what the hell you're doing. Especially when you get guys getting tackled for a loss and you're losing yards, and like you said, that drive ended as punting when we just got a turnover, a crucial turnover.
Well, and like what you just said there, okay, with your phenomenal athletes you guys have on the field, when you have players like that, you don't have to do crap like that.
Yeah.
People who run that stuff are people who struggle to move the ball, so they got to pull some like crazy trickery out to completely catch you off guard to get a big play that maybe goes for like 60, 70 yards or a touchdown like one time, you know? And I don't know, man. I was going to text you and say, bro, I hope you're just smoking or drinking right now because your your play caller needs to be drug tested. He's high as hell. You know, like
I was like, smacked my buddy, and I was like, dude, this guy. I was like, dude, Kellen Moore must have had as many beers as I've had already because that's what he called right there, dude. What is he doing? I was just so upset. The game was still early too, and I was like, dude, you are ruining my Christmas day.
Bro, I
Christmas Eve day.
I felt bad. Like I was like, what is happening right now? But I know, like, I know you don't like being bothered during the game and all that stuff.
Nah, it's all
I didn't
good.
text you, but yeah, and in other NFL news, kind of the breakdown of the playoff pictures and stuff. And then in other NFL news, legendary J.J. Watt has announced this is going to be his final season. I was telling little Jacob before the podcast started, seeing him with his son. He was like able to see his son for the first time, and just seeing him with like the baby on the sideline and all that stuff. To me, it kind of clicked. I was like, I don't think he's going to be playing much longer, and everything. And plus, he's had a tremendous career. His career's been ridiculous, but his wife is also like a professional soccer player as well. So they have two professional athletes in the family. Trying to raise a family definitely gonna be tough. But well, Jacob, you brought up a really good thing with his injuries as well. I think a lot of that plays a factor.
Yeah, and it's better to spend time with his kids instead of spending most of his time training for the season. Football, it's a tough season in general. Then you got injury, you got rehab, and then it kind of just starts to seem to repeat a cycle for him. And he's had some pretty serious injuries over the course of his career, unfortunately, especially near the end. And I just hope, he enjoys his retirement. He gets to rest, relax, and like I said, spend time with his family. It's well deserved. He doesn't have anything to prove to anyone. We all know the kind of badass guy that he is and was as a player as well. And much credit to him. He's definitely going to go down as one of the best defensive players of a generation that's ever played, especially at that position, because you really don't see a guy dominate on the defensive line like that anymore, and you probably won't for a long time if you do.
He played a great game too.
Yeah.
I think he'll be a Hall of Famer for sure.
Yeah, I think he'll be first ballot as well.
But yeah, even his tweet, like I actually just saw this. It was Koa's first NFL game, my last ever NFL home game. My heart is filled with nothing but love and gratitude. It's been an absolute honor and a pleasure. He's got like family photos there, and that kid already looks like huge. Like, kid's gonna be a monster.
Yeah, and a lot of people may not realize too, and this is like some of the things that you'll even hear basketball players talk about too, and when they retire, it's like, you don't get to have a lot of time to be around your kids or family. You can ask Tom Brady. I mean, he's been playing for damn near the entire time his kids have been born up until like they're almost grown men. So
yeah,
you just want to have time. You just don't get that kind of time being an athlete. It's not like you just go in one day to play on Sunday. You go for film, you go for training. There's a plethora of things you have to do every week, every season, off season, postseason. It doesn't end for a lot of guys, or in general. So yeah, it's very understandable. He just wants time with his family and hell to relax, man, because he's been busting his ass so much. From you think about all the years he's played football, all the hard work he's put in on and off the field, he definitely deserves to just rest and just do whatever he wants, or like hang out with his family.
Yeah. That's gonna wrap it up for us. We're gonna see what happens after this week. Hopefully, my boys are moving on to the championship game. Would love it if we face the team up north again for the national title. I think that would be absolutely amazing. But we'll see what happens. Definitely, next 2 weeks are going to be absolutely wild with NFL breakdown and what's going on there. So you guys definitely stay tuned. Be sure to follow our socials. Once again, I'm selfless_gaming. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all that stuff. And this is little Jacob. Little Jacob, close us out, my man.
Hey guys, little Jacob. That's little with the 3 instead of an E. You can also find me on Twitch, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and also a Facebook page as well. Feel free to hit me on the socials. If your team's playing this weekend, good luck. And good luck to you on your fantasy. Those of you guys still in the fantasy football. This is either your championship week or next week will be. So good luck to you on that. If you are still in it,
man. I lost. My team fell apart at the end. Like
yeah, mine too.
I literally was like searching for waivers and stuff, and everybody was hurt and out. And I'm like, I got nothing this week. Like, so
that's how it ends up sometimes.
Yeah, but we appreciate y'all. Remember to take care of each other. Most importantly, take care of yourselves. You guys are always wanting a melon. I don't even know where my melon is. I lost it. But go Bucks, and we will see y'all next week.
Later.
Peace.